All right, all right, all right. The room is messy. The hair is messy. Everything messy. Let's get into it. Okay. All right. So today I'm continuing with the Shift Nudge product design course. It's a UI design, UI UX design course, and I'm doing this till 3 a.m. in the morning. Let's see how this goes.
Key with Ryan Holiday. Now that title breaks into two lines: designing an interface that has some type of account, user account, they're signing up and they're doing things. There's going to be user-generated text. Think like tweets, names, video titles, podcast titles, just all of these things that our interfaces house are going to be user-generated content. And that can be one word or it can be 40 words. So we have to figure out, where do we draw the line on truncating text, whether it's titles or body text. Let's take a look at a couple of examples, starting with the Apple Podcast app. I've got a number of podcasts here, and what I want to pay attention to here is the truncation of the title. So you can see on the very top, number 38, stillness is the key with Ryan Holiday. Now that title breaks into two lines and it doesn't need to be truncated. But if you look at the one below, it's a lot longer: becoming a niche reviewer, story behind backwards with Chase Re, and then ... Now that one has 3 lines with truncated title. So the designers here are making a decision that it's got to be truncated at some point, and it's better to be after 3 lines than 4 lines, because if the thing extended past 4 lines, then the text to the right of the image would not even, it would kind of break the format of that little component. But what's really interesting though, if you go down, and I think there's one, so if you look at Crimes of Passion right here, Harold Noakes Part 1, that's a very short title, and there's no more content to break into 2 or even 3 lines. So what they do here is they're bringing in the description, 2 lines of the description, and then they're truncating the second line of the description. And that kind of makes up for the content that wasn't able to be filled with the title. And then if you look at this one for how I built this, Evite Selena Tabakowala, that's a 2 line, and then they're only bringing in 1 line of the description with a truncated description. And all of them, kind of occupy that same amount of room. So there are these little rules here where, if it's a 3-line title, then we're going to truncate it and we're not going to bring in any description. Or if it's a 2-line title, then we're going to bring in 1 line of the description, then truncate the description. And that way you can see that every single one has a nice block of text related to the cover image. So there's 3 or 4 variations here just to get some consistency with each one of these episodes. And then if you go into one of the details here of a larger, so yeah, open that up. In order to show the entire title, they're just having this big marquee kind of scrolling thing. And I don't know if that's, they don't really have a lot of other options here, because they don't want to mess it with the controls. You want to be able to kind of play and pause this more than you want to be able to read the title. So they're kind of making some trade-offs there based on, the title length and then what's most important. Because like once I'm in this view, I don't really care that much about the title. I care more about being able to control the podcast and things like that. So that's just one example looking at this Apple Podcast app. All right, now I want to show you 4 different personal projects of mine, or client projects, and we'll take a look at some different ways where I had to truncate different titles, different different things in the app. So let's look first at an app called Skyscanner. Okay, inside of this app, there's tons of screens all over, but I want to focus right on this guy here. This is an older file, so some of my icon fonts that I was using that I do not have on this machine are screwing up. So just ignore this. This was also pre-iPhone 11, so it's like a smaller screen. But what I really want to focus on here is this part down here. So, and just to set a quick stage for what you're looking at, this was an iOS app and a web app that allowed multiple people from the same company to all book their flights together, and then they could send their information to the manager, and they could see which of their other colleagues had booked certain flights. You could all book a company-wide flight, and you could get on the same flight with other people. So it was a way for business travelers within the same organization to book their flights together. So in this case, say I'm looking for flights and I'm searching from Scotland to Singapore, and I can say, oh, okay, well, in this flight, Ross he's on that flight, he's already booked it. But what if other people in the company have also booked that flight? So one thing we're doing here is we're changing this component to just show that Ross has booked it. We're changing it to show 4 people here. So now we have Ross, some guy named ET, we have this guy, and NS. And so even though this isn't a complete truncation of text, it's just a way to show more information in a smaller kind of screen. So in this case, if we tap this drop down, which is kind of indicated here that this is going to expand, now we have this component here where Ross is fully expanded. Now we have that same version of the component here as a list item. And now we can see, oh, okay, that's Ross, Edward Taylor, Steve Skyman, and Matt D. Smith. And these are gray circles because they're pending, and these are green circles because they've booked. So maybe these people, have a slightly different status. But it's one kind of small and interesting way to truncate information in a smaller space. So we do have the title for the person's name, and there's no way we're going to fit more than one of these on a row. So rather than clutter up the entire search results with everything on there, we can kind of make use of clever truncation. And, we're also accounting for avatars that are missing. Maybe they haven't uploaded an avatar, but at least we can bring in their initials to kind of supplement that material so the user knows what they're looking at. And then if you look at some of the other ones, it's just not there because no one's booked this yet. Another kind of interesting way that we're truncating text here is that this particular flight from Scotland to Singapore, it's stopping in London Heathrow, and I guess that's Turkey. I'm not sure, we'll call it Turkey. And then in Singapore. So these are airport codes, and we're trying to signify like the amount of layover time here. That was the width. And we also want to show like what airline is going to be showing on these particular search results. And a lot of this information I got from the team. It wasn't like I just knew, a lot of research went into this as well. So, but we knew that there are going to be multiple instances where the leg of a flight would be handled by another carrier. And so we're saying British Airways and 2 others. And we're showing that 2 others can be tapped on because it's a slightly different color. It's that call to action color. And so we know we're not going to say British Airways and Air Turkey and Air Singapore. So we're saying British Airways, which is the first logo shown. And then we have 2 others, which is the active text. So in a way, we're truncating those 3 airlines into one, plus a little bit of link, like a call to action that can expand that. And this is really commonly seen on Instagram or Facebook, where it says, or even Twitter, where it says, liked by your best friend and 3 others, or liked by Matt and 20 others, or it might say liked by Matt and Ross and Dan and 3 others, something like that. It's kind of an easy way to kind of condense a bunch of names, show a little bit of relevant information, but then also have a way to show even more information. All right, next up, we're going to take a look at Monero, which is a desktop application that holds cryptocurrency in a digital wallet. So in this case, we're using Monero, which I'd never heard of until this project. It's kind of like Bitcoin, but apparently more decentralized and whatnot. Anyway, let's take a look. Okay, so I'm just going to. It's British Airways, which is the first logo shown, and then we have two others, which is, and so we know we're not going to say British Airways and Air Turkey and Air Singapore. So we're saying British Airways, which is the first logo shown, user knows in this component stage for, but what if other people in the company have also booked that flight? So one drop down, which is kind of indicated here that this is going to expand. Now we have this component here where Ross is fully expanded. Now we have that same version of the component here as a list item. And now we can see, oh, okay, that's Ross, Edward Taylor, Steve Skyman, and Matt D. Smith. And these are gray circles because they're pending, and these are green circles because they've booked. So maybe these people